Hello and welcome. Today we're here with more ideas and opinions from Albert Einstein. Let's jump into this. We're going to do three short pieces, and that will end this first part of the book because it goes on to the next part, which is getting into his thoughts on freedom. But this first one we're going to read is called A Mathematician's Mind. It is a testimonial for an essay on psychology of invention in the mathematical field by Jacques S. Hadamard in Princeton University, 1945. Princeton University Press, 1945. Jacques Hadamard, a French mathematician, conducted a psychological survey of mathematicians to determine their mental processes at work. Below are two of the questions, followed by Albert Einstein's answers. It would be very helpful for the purpose of psychological investigation to know what internal or mental images, what kind of internal words mathematicians make use of, whether they are motor, auditory, visual, or mixed, depending on the subject which they are studying. Especially in research thought, do the mental pictures or internal words represent themselves in the full consciousness or in the fringe consciousness? My dear colleague, in the following I am trying to answer in brief your questions as well as I am able. I am not satisfied myself with those answers, and I am willing to answer more questions if you believe this could be of any advantage for the very interesting and difficult work you have undertaken. Answer: the words or the language, as they are written or spoken, do not seem to play any role in my mechanism of thought. The psychical entities which seem to serve as elements in thought are certain signs and more or less clear images which can be voluntarily reproduced and combined. There is, of course, a certain connection between these elements and relevant logical concepts. It is also clear that the desire to arrive finally at logically connected concepts is the emotional basis of this rather vague play with the above-mentioned elements. But taken from a psychological viewpoint, this combinatory play seems to be the essential feature in productive thought. Therefore, there is any consideration with logical construction in words or other kinds of signs which can be communicated to others. Okay, that was A. This is B. The above mentioned elements are, in my case, of visual and some of muscular type. Conventional words and other signs have to be sought for laboriously only in secondary stage. Then the mentioned associative play is sufficiently established and can be reproduced at will. C. According to what has been said, the play with the mentioned elements is aimed to be analogous to certain logical connections one is searching for. D. Visual and motor. In a stage when words intervene at all, they are, in my case, purely auditive. Plus, they interfere only in the secondary stage, as already mentioned. And E. It seems to me that you call full consciousness, that what you call full consciousness is a limit case which can never be fully accomplished. This seems to me connected with the fact called the narrowness of consciousness. Der Bewusstseins. Remark: Professor Max Wertheimer has tried to investigate the distinction between mere associating or combining of reproducible elements and between understanding organisches Begriffen. I cannot judge how far his psychological analysis catches the essential point. So yeah, Einstein, in trying to give a succinct answer, really has to try to break down his thought processes. In fact, he breaks it down into a 5-part tree, I guess one would say. But yeah. The next part we're going to read is called The State and the Individual Conscience. And it is an open letter to the Society for Social Responsibility in Science, and was published in Science, Volume 112, on December the 22nd, 1950, on page 760. Dear fellow scientists, the problem of how man should act if his government prescribes actions or society expects an attitude which his own conscience considers wrong is indeed an old one. It is easy to say that the individual cannot be held responsible for acts carried out under irresistible compulsion, because the individual is fully dependent upon the society in which he is living, and therefore must accept its rules. But the very formulation of this idea makes it obvious to what extent such a concept contradicts our sense of justice. External compulsion can, to a certain extent, reduce but never cancel the responsibility of the individual. In the Nuremberg trials, this idea was considered to be self-evident. Whatever is morally important in our institutions, laws, and mores can be morally important in our, or can be traced back to interpretation of the sense of justice of countless individuals. Institutions are in a moral sense impotent unless they are supported by the sense of responsibility of living individuals. An effort to arouse and strengthen this sense of responsibility of the individual is an important service to mankind. In our times, scientists and engineers carry particular moral responsibility because the development of military means of mass destruction is within their sphere of activity. I feel, therefore, that the formation of the Society of Social Responsibility in Science satisfies a true need. This society, through discussion of the inherent problems, will make it easier for the individual to clarify his mind and arrive at a clear position as to his own stand. Moreover, mutual help is essential for those who face difficulties because they follow their conscience. All Einstein is really saying is, you can't just be sheepishly following orders, even in science. There is a need for the individual to have his own moral compass. Even if that is your job, you need to be able to stand up and say, no, this is wrong. Honestly, it's what the military should do. You're supposed to be able to do that, but I don't think it gets treated that way as often as it should. Last part we're going to read is called Alpharisms for Leo Baeck. From the 2-volume commemorative publication in honor of the 80th birthday of Leo Baeck, May the 23rd, 1953. I salute the man who is going through life always helpful, knowing no fear, and to whom aggressiveness and resentment are alien. Such is the stuff of which the great moral leaders are made of, who proffer consolation to mankind in their self-created miseries. The attempt to combine wisdom and power has only rarely been successful, and then only for a short while. Man usually avoids attributing cleverness to somebody else, unless it is an enemy. Few people are capable of expressing with equanimity opinions which differ from the prejudices of their social environment. Most people are even incapable of forming such opinions. The majority of the stupid is invincible and guaranteed for all time. The terror of their tyranny, however, is alleviated by their lack of consistency. In order to form an immaculate member of a flock of sheep, one must, above all, be a sheep. The contrast and contradictions that can permanently live peacefully side by side in a skull make all the systems of political optimists and pessimists illusory. Whoever undertakes to set himself up as judge in the field of truth and knowledge is shipwrecked by the laughter of the gods. Joy in looking and comprehending is nature's most beautiful gift. And it's just really a list of views on, I guess it's the use of wisdom um, in society. He talks about most people won't even attribute cleverness to somebody else unless it is an enemy, somebody they must vanquish. And few people are capable of expressing with equanimity opinions which differ from their own prejudices of their social environment. We see that today with the political divides. You know, the propaganda on both sides have made it impossible for them to agree with one another. It feels like so. And then he says, the majority of the stupid is invincible and guaranteed for all time. So, you know, those who are so willing to, you know, follow their ideologies, no matter how clearly incorrect it is, they're going to follow it anyway because they don't care. But he points out the terror of their tyranny, however, is alleviated by their lack of consistency. Basically saying, though they will always be around, you can often easily poke holes in their arguments. So, yeah, but it's just his views on cleverness and wisdom. But that will be it for now. As always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tries to tell you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, later.